IVM.
Welcome to another episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I am your host for this week, Ashwin. I'm joined by my co-podcasters, DJ, who is in England, Varun, who is back in Singapore, and in case anybody was following my journey, I'm back in the US now. But we're really, really excited to be joined by another special guest this week during our COVID-19 lockdown series, if you will. And we have an actor, a former banker. He's an improviser. He's done lots of great things. His wife is also a well-known actor, but also, from the perspective of Edges and Sledges, he's a massive cricket fan just like us. So we're going to talk a little bit with Mukul Chaddha, the star of The Office India on Hotstar, and, obviously many other things. So Mukul, thank you for being on Edges and Sledges.
No, thank you for calling me. I think you guys have got a great show. I've heard a few podcasts and, it's just such a relaxed, like you said, it's a fan's perspective of the game, right? I mean, which is just absolutely great. We did one show, actually, to be honest. I did a show with Hotstar 3 years back called The Fanatics, which was a fan's perspective of the game. So it was like two fans. It was animation, motion capture we did it on. So it was like, just two fans talking about the game. So obviously no experts. And it had that nice relaxed feel. And I feel that on your show a lot. Like you guys really are talking like we would talk in a drawing room discussing cricket, which is how all cricket fans are. So that's the great part of your show. So thank you for calling me.
No, that's great. We're happy to have you. And again, we know you're a huge fan of the game as well. So we're going to talk a little about that. But, you've been on Cyrus Says' podcast also on the IVM network. But so you've talked a lot more about your history. But do you want to tell our listeners who haven't heard that just a little bit about your background, your journey, how, you obviously went abroad, became a banker, came back to India to pursue the dream, as you will, and you've done well for it. So congratulations. But,
thank you.
And then a little bit about how that journey has gone with being a cricket fan as well.
So my background is a little unusual for most actors, but then I guess all actors have very unusual backgrounds because very few people, my age grow up wanting to be actors. It wasn't really something that you could do or you didn't think of seriously. I did a traditional MBA and then I worked in banking in New York for 6 years at the infamous Lehman Brothers. Now everybody has heard of it after it went bankrupt. So I worked there for 6 years and, acting was something I always did, but, it was a hobby. It was a very serious hobby. And I guess didn't enjoy, I love New York, but I guess I didn't enjoy banking as much. And so one fine day, I just packed up my bags and came back. And initially I thought I'd take a sabbatical for 2 years and act and write. And then law of inertia took over. I did that for a couple of years and then another couple of years and then another couple of years. And before I realized it, I was a full-time actor, which by full-time, it wasn't as if I was occupied all the time, but I wasn't doing anything else. So, that's been a long, long journey. This is, of course, a long time ago. And then I think for me, yes, I think the biggest thing that I've done and I'm very happy to have done is playing The Office and getting a chance to play, Jagdeep Chaddha, which I think is just a fascinatingly flawed character. I mean, it's just like I said earlier when I was chatting with you guys, when I first saw a little bit of the US Office and I saw that character, I was like, this is, I fell in love. I was like, I want to play this. I desperately want to play this character. It's a dream. I mean, I think any actor would give an arm and a leg to play that part.
Yeah, so interesting you say that. So for anybody who hasn't watched it, A, go on Hotstar, watch it. It is nothing better to watch during the lockdown. B, it's the Michael Scott, David Brent equivalent, right? So it's the lead in the Office. He's the manager of the Office. It's a phenomenal kind of part because it's interesting that he said fascinatingly flawed. I loved that description. Yeah, so tell us a little about the process, how you got that role. Where did it come from? Had some of the casting just seen you in the Mumbai theater scene, or how did you get the call up to go try out for the part?
I think I got very lucky in that I do improv. I really think that there was something there because most of the cast of the US Office, they're improvisers. And I don't know whether improv it plays a huge part in the show. I mean, of course, it is the way we film it. It is a very, it is a little fluid in terms of how the movement is and everything. But I think somewhere the makers here, because the US cast was, a lot of them are improvisers, they were looking, I think, for improvisers. So I think I got the call up to audition because I was an improviser. Otherwise, they may not have thought of me. And I'm thankful to God for that. Because a lot of people in our improv group got called up for different parts. And so that was great. In fact, it's the first time I've auditioned for a lead part in a major show. Because typically it's a hard struggle here in Bombay. I mean, you can be doing theatre for years, I've done a lot of bit parts here and there, but to make that break into even being considered for a lead part doesn't happen as much. And I think two things contributed. One is the fact that this OTT revolution has taken over, and you just have so many more parts, and you have ensemble casts, and you have all this happening that suddenly people get considered for other parts, and even if it's not a lead part, it's a meaty role very often. So I think having been an improviser probably got me the call. It was a long process though. It was still I think we did a month and a half long round of auditions. I think at 3 rounds I did, and I kept waiting. They auditioned a lot of people. It was a big part for them, I guess, But something worked right on the days, right, that I auditioned, and I got the part. So great.
Yeah, awesome. And we couldn't be happier that you ended up playing the lead. I wonder, is it a coincidence that the character shares the same last name as you, or did they write that in?
Complete coincidence. I mean,
really?
And again, if that played a part in someone thinking, Chaddha playing Chaddha, maybe it works, I'll take it. I mean, it was a complete coincidence.
Wow, that's awesome. So again, very, very happy for you. Phenomenal roles. 2 seasons are out. Hopefully we get more. But, we're a cricket show. So we'd love to ask you a little bit more about your journey as a cricket fan. So you grew up here, went to IIM, you mentioned MBA, but you chose not to drop where you went. So you're obviously a smart guy as well. And then you went to New York. So what's your journey been like as a cricket fan? When did you get into the game?
I grew up in Chennai. I was born in Bombay, but I grew up in Chennai. So I think I went to Chepauk every single test match. I think my first memory is, I'll reveal my age now. I think my first test match is probably 1982, India versus England. Madan Lal was fielding next to us. So I think that's my first cricket memory. And the tight test is something I've seen, that famous last ball, even in the 87 World Cup when, again, Maninder got out, LBW. So there are a lot of memories from Chepauk for me. I watched a lot of cricket then, and as so many Indians growing up, that's like a huge part of. And we used to go and sit for 5 days and watch test matches. I mean, it was like you'd go every day, watch test matches for 5 days. It was a very normal thing. And then, right through, I was in college. I was in the US actually for 2 years for high school. Then I was in Delhi, Ahmedabad, and just kept following the game. Of late, this World Cup thing is. I went for the 2015 World Cup to Australia as well, and then the 19 one in England. So I think following the World Cups is not a bad way to follow the sport as well. And then there are a bunch of other friends who come along, so it becomes this collective atmosphere. But I've been a diehard cricket fan. I think probably my biggest fan moment, which I even tweeted the other day, because it was the anniversary of Lakshman's 281, right? So I was in the US when that happened. And because of the time zone difference, which you will appreciate, Ashwin, I was up all night watching that innings, right? It was such a crucial point in the match. And I had a dial-up connection because this is 2001. So I didn't have, broadband had come, cable broadband had come, but I think I didn't think it was important, or what are you going to watch on broadband or whatever. So I watched that 281 by hitting refresh on my laptop, on my desktop, not even laptop, desktop, the whole night long. And I fell asleep on the computer because, just watching that innings and just, praying for them to survive every session, every, spell of bowling. And literally you'd see Lakshman, on half his swing, then the frame freezes, then you have to hit refresh, and then you see Asha has gone to the boundary. Okay, great. So, that's probably one of my biggest fan moments. And the very next morning, I ordered a cable connection. I said, forget it. I'm not going to do this anymore. This is very, very crucial just for this. Lots of memories even there, I remember I was in Chicago in 99 during the 99 World Cup. And the only place I could watch the game there, because there was, I was mostly in New York, but I was sent to Chicago for about 8 months for a punishment posting, I think, during the winter of 99. So I was there, and that World Cup, the only place I could watch it was a Pakistani kind of diner. There was this, where all the cabbies in Chicago would come. And I'd watch the game with all of them because, just sneak out of the office, do whatever it took to kind of watch the game. I remember even the 2003 World Cup, we had, I remember I was on my laptop, on my computer, computer at work, and you kind of you keep changing the screen, right? And you have the cricket score going on Bloomberg as well. And my boss's boss actually was also Indian, came in, and I quickly changed the thing. And he came right over me, and he changed the screen back, just kind of, and I was shit. He's caught me checking cricket. And all he said was, what's the score? Okay, he left. He was also like into it. So it's a huge thing, right? It's a huge thing for all cricket fans, especially when it's a big tournament. And I think it's been such an essential part of our journey right through.
That's fantastic. So awesome stories. I have a couple of things to ask you from that. But the first thing I want to pick on, Varun, DJ, let me ask you while I put you on the spot, because we all live in time zones that are, inevitably this is the way cricket's played from Australia to the West Indies. For me being here, as was with you, when it's in the West Indies, it's fantastic because it's perfect time zone for the US. But DJ, do you have a fondest memory of watching cricket at an odd time zone or through the night? I know I have one, and then Varun, I'll ask you the same one because DJ probably has it the easiest being in the middle.
So Australia is pretty bad for me, actually.
Yeah.
So the fond memories, well, if it had worked out the right way at Adelaide, that would have been a really fond memory. Mm-hmm. Watching Kohli get his second 100 in the day, playing Nathan Lyon, Vijay getting out for 99. That was pretty exciting. And so you're kind of staying up the whole night watching it. I think fond memory, last series in Australia, right? All sorts of odd, because I would watch the first session, sleep for the middle session where hopefully things were not happening, and get up for the last session again. So I was getting like 3 hours of sleep a night, and it was pretty cold as well, obviously, over here. And Mukul obviously appreciates that. Chicago winter, man, that is truly a punishment.
Chicago winter is, that was completely. Someone hated me in that office because...
But hey, Chicago, New York might be part of the reason you got into improv, right? Those are the two big improvs.
That is absolutely true. You're absolutely right. My first time I saw saw improv was at Second City in Chicago. Yeah. I walked in there and I saw it and I fell in love. I said, this is an art form I really want to do. And it's strange because it's not as popular as, say, stand-up or the others. But sometimes you just say, this is something I want to do. And I did a course at Second City while I was there. I did two short-term courses on the weekends. And then years later, when I got a chance to do it here, I jumped into it because it was something that I saw and fell in love with.
There you go. So punishment assignment led.
Yeah.
So Varun, let me ask you.
Yeah, so you almost forgot me. I have 3 things to say to what Mukul was saying. First, I live in a time zone that is close to BCCI. So I am very lucky that I get to watch most matches. Second, Mukul, actually, DJ and my favorite memory is also 281 Lakshman, but we were writing our board exams at that point, and we were in the car listening to the radio and then went in to write the exam. And third, you mentioned a weird place to watch cricket. I was in Madrid last summer during the World Cup. I watched the Indian cricket match at an Irish pub in Madrid. So
that's a great one.
That was insane. Yeah,
I got to add to this. Sorry, when you mentioned this, I went to Bangkok on a holiday, and this was the Perth Test, 2008, right? This is that famous Perth Test, and
Ishant Sharma's spell,
exactly. I got there and landed at the airport and checked the score, and my God, it looked like we could win this game. I mean, this was like not expected. We were down in that series, plus the controversy with that whole series anyway. Went to the apartment we were at and like, screw it. We had made plans to go out and see the city and, street shopping. Forget it. Watch television in the apartment with beers in hand and forget everything else. We were watching, and that's when I watched that Ishant Sharma spell to Ricky Ponting. It was phenomenal. I mean, it's just ridiculous that you go on a holiday and all you're doing is watching cricket.
We've all been there. We all had issues because of that. So
yeah, and I'm just going to add to that because clearly we are not this thing. The India-Australia game where Kohli played that innings against Faulkner, man. I was in Barcelona on a walking tour watching it on my phone. Literally, my wife is like next to me. She's seeing all these beautiful cathedrals and stuff. And I'm like, oh, Kohli ne 4 maar diya, through point, what a shot. Dhoni's coming to us. Like, it's insane. I mean, this is what the life of a cricket fan is, right?
I actually thought Varun would mention this, but when we traveled to England for the 2019 World Cup, we took a little bit of a hiatus to do a family holiday, and we went to Greece. And so we were on a ferry from Mykonos back to Athens, and during the India-Australia game where Shikhar made his century, and it was just a phenomenal game. And obviously they were, one of the favorites going in. And so we were all on our phones, desperately trying to connect and watch a little bit. Every few minutes we'd get a little bit of signal. Dad was on Cricket for refreshing, just so we got the score. So I think life of a cricket fan, we've all been there. I do want to say quickly from my perspective, finally, my fondest memory, although DJ and Varun will attest, I mean, even right now when we started this episode, it was 5:30, but we had to allow for 5:30 in the morning. But I just got back from India, so I'm a little jet lagged, so I'm allowed. But yeah, it was actually 2006. I was in college, and that was the 4:34 and 4:38 ODI in Australia, South Africa, 2006, Johannesburg, I think. And that, I think it ended at 4 in the morning. So I remember sleeping for 30 minutes during the lunch break, during the innings break, waking up again and watching. So just incredible memories. And I asked that because a lot of our fans are Indian cricket fans, but all around the world. We have folks in New York, we have folks in Singapore, Australia, etc. So great sharing. I want to ask one other thing because you mentioned your background. So grew up in Chennai, from Mumbai, now live in Mumbai. CSK versus MI finals. Who's your team?
I'll pick anyone over CSK because they win too much.
Anyone over CSK?
They just always win.
Sorry, Mumbai has won 4 times.
They have actually. Now they have. I realized when I was saying it, but also secretly somewhere I don't mind Rohit Sharma winning another trophy because make him the ODI captain. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. He's a better captain. Make him.
That's a
agenda.
That's a loaded. Have I just lit a bomb and thrown it in your rooms? I mean,
you for sure have. This will be the quote we put when we're promoting the episode, and you'll get a lot of trolls on Twitter.
No, but he is. I mean, okay, that's my view. Of course, everybody believes that the view is absolute truth and there's nothing else to it. It's completely objective. And every cricket fan has, they just know that this one should be the captain and it's universal. It should be that way. And we don't think that there's any other counterpoint that can exist.
So let me ask you a little bit more about that then, as you're mentioning it. So Virat, the Test captain, and then Rohit for ODIs and T20s. Is that where? And do you think Kohli would do well under another player's leadership as the ODI, vice captain or non-captain?
That might be the problem, right? I mean, the problem is only, I think, of removing Kohli is that what if he doesn't perform as well? I'm a fan of Kohli as a captain. Actually, I think in a sense that. I think there's something he's brought to the team in terms of in fact, as a Test captain, I like his drive to win. You're talking about the Adelaide Test. I mean, the fact that we went for it, I just like to see that. And I don't think we've seen that in the Indian team for a long time. That just this whole business of let's not play for a draw. And I know one of you, I think, DJ, you're the MS Dhoni fan, right? The massive MS Dhoni fan.
Yeah, but huge. Waiting for him to come back.
Yeah, okay. So for me, I think I was actually very happy when Kohli replaced Dhoni as captain of the Test team because I don't think Dhoni wanted to be in Tests. I don't think he had any desire to be in Tests or be a Test captain. I think he's the greatest limited overs captain that anyone in the world has been. I think across across time, I think he's the greatest ODI limited overs captain ever. But in Tests, I don't think he was, and he was playing out for draws or really not pushing as hard. And that drive in Kohli, I really like to see. I mean, limited overs, I guess Rohit is a better captain, I guess. I mean, just look at the record. This is very clear. I don't know. So, yeah, that's my universal truth, as every cricket fan has. There's many universal truths. This is one, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, you said it right. DJ is a big Dhoni fan. I think what, to me, is the most interesting about this argument that always happens is, until it started, I think Rohit and Kohli get along phenomenally well. They've had some of the greatest partnerships. They bat well together. They strategize well together. Kohli has said very clearly he relies on Rohit for guidance and counsel. So hopefully they found a way to coexist. Hopefully the fans around can find a way to coexist. Otherwise, most of my Twitter or the Edges and Sledges Twitter feed is often filled with fan wars and Kohli fans. And I know, DJ, you interact with those more than I do, right? Do you think this is ever going away, this debate?
I don't think, it'll go away once both of them retire, right? And it'll always be a case of you have with Shane Warne that he was the greatest captain Australia never had. And maybe that's going to be the case with Rohit, but you've got to look at the larger picture. I mean, if India wins tournaments, wins trophies, Rohit Sharma did whatever he could as a batsman, right? 500s in the World Cup. And he's still hurting from not having played the 2011 World Cup. So,
we are not winning trophies. That's the problem.
ये भाई क्या expectation होता है हम लोग का? But basically, I mean, I don't think Rohit will care whether he lifts the trophy as captain or as a player. Honestly, I think he just wants to lift the trophy, the World Cup or a Champions Trophy if that tournament still exists.
So Mukul, to close this question where I started, Mumbai Indians is your IPL team? Because the three of us are
No, actually, I don't have an IPL team. If I had to pick one, strangely, it's Rajasthan Royals. I backed them back in 2008, which is the only time they won. And they're the classic underdog. They kind of, the Moneyball team in a sense. I mean, and then, Shane Warne and Dravid, so a lot of players who are close to my heart. Shane Warne became close to my heart after he retired from the Australian team. Until then, he was like an enemy. But then suddenly he became this lovable guy. I think Rajasthan Royals, if at all. I'm not that into, really rooting for a team in the IPL. I watch the IPL and T20 is great fun, but I just don't have that same level of fan loyalty as, the World T20 is a much bigger thing for me. And in general, I mean, the tribalism is more country-based because maybe that's how we grew up. And I just don't, two teams play, I'm rooting for players, people I like, a bowler I like, a batsman I like. It's just not reached that same level of, club loyalty. for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Absolutely. I think we've chosen to go the other end of the extreme where we said, you know what, we have to pick a club. We've all been sports fans in the UK, in my case in the US as well. And so India had its own franchise. We all picked Delhi. It's been a really tough 13 years for us since as a result. But, we're all from there. We had one point, we reached the semi-finals. We got close. We had one point when we had Sehwag and Gambhir.
That was the first year.
First year, yeah. And then they gave us a shot at the Champions League, whatever it was called, as well, because we reached the semis, and then obviously nothing came of it. So, Shreyas Iyer, if you listen to this show, we're banking on you to give us a win at some point. Varun, anything to add?
I have to ask you, Mukul, are you a Rishabh Pant fan or not?
I like Rishabh Pant. I like Rishabh Pant. I don't know.
You can't like Rishabh Pant. You either love Rishabh Pant or you hate Rishabh Pant.
No, I'm very fond of Rishabh Pant. I'm always wanting him to do well. But he's so infuriating also in terms of just doing dumb things. I don't think he's our number one test keeper. Of course he got a look in because Saha was injured also. But I'm very happy with Saha in that spot. And Rishabh is he's exciting, but then he just does these daft things. He's like. So when he was in the IPL, when he got discovered in the IPL, I was fully rooting for him. And he was Delhi, right? Rishabh was Delhi, right?
Yeah.
So he was Delhi, and he did some really exciting things, and I was always rooting for him. But ever since he's joined the national team, I want him to do well, but sometimes it's like.
I think you just adequately described the feeling of every Rishabh Pant fan. And,
it's like.
Yeah, I think Varun has felt this many times. You want him to do well, but the head is about to explode. Yes.
So one day Varun is like he's the greatest batsman ever. Next day he should be dropped from all three formats.
That's how he plays. He brings that out in me.
But also he's playing test matches and not limited overs cricket, which is the other.
Which is bizarre, right? It's just that's the most bizarre thing that ever happened. Like, how did that even happen? I don't know.
It's going to be interesting to see the future. But Varun, one day I will go through our history of WhatsApp threads and find all the positive things and all the many, 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 many expletives you've shared about Rishabh Pant. And that'll be a fun release. All right. Mukul, last question before we take a quick break. Yeah. We haven't had cricket for 8 weeks or so, more, I guess, now at the time of recording this. But which player are you missing most in action, both either from the men's game, the women's game, ideally Indian, just because we're an Indian cricket focused podcast?
Actually, you mentioned Shreyas earlier. I don't see my favorite player, but I'm looking to see him join the team and be a permanent fixture in the team. Otherwise, there's so many players in the team that I hope Bumrah's had time to recuperate and get his shoulder back operational. He's just fantastic to watch because for the first time we have an Indian player who's bouncing out batsmen across the world. Right? I never thought I would see this in my lifetime, that you have the premium fast bowler in the world coming from India. But so many, Kohli, Rohit Sharma also when he's on song. So it's hard to pick a single player, I would say, that is my favorite in this current team. There are a bunch of them. Rahul was the same guy who I went through that same period of frustration with, because he keeps, moving up and down in terms of, because how every fan has a definitive 11. We believe that this should be the 11, right? And then we fight with our friends over it. And then we want the player to prove us right.
Yeah.
It's more important that we are right in that living room conversation. So he better play well. And when he doesn't, then it's all his fault. So it's a lot of that. But yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And I'm going to quickly, before we take a quick break, ask all three of you guys, which player has been the least productive during this lockdown. So has not been working. You have to believe Kohli's working out every day. Will continue to be. Who's been the least productive and it's going to take the longest to recover? Let me go to Varun first. So Mukul, you get a second to think.
Yeah, thanks.
I think Chahal, man, he's just doing social media dancing and making his parents dance. And I don't know, firstly, I don't know if he works out, but he should have used the time in the lockdown, but I think he's doing nothing.
You could definitely assume from the size of his arms, he doesn't spend too much time working out. So fair enough.
Actually, on the contrary, if you follow him on, I think, TikTok maybe, he does a lot of workout videos on TikTok. He's huge on TikTok. He's got 4 million followers or something in no time.
Oh, really?
That's not relevant to the game.
But he's lifting pretty heavy weights, man, on TikTok with some music in the background, Lagan type music playing in the background.
But TikTok are 8-second videos. Most people can lift heavy weight for 8 seconds and put it away, right?
Also, the other guy doing nothing is Kedar Jadhav. He's just liking every video that Salman Khan puts up. That's it.
Varun, can you show? Have you got your mug? Have you brought your mug back from India? Did you leave it in India? The mug that Ashwin and I gifted you?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay, we'll reveal that at some point. But I think Kedar's working on seeing how he can get his arm action even lower during this lockdown. That's what he's working on. DJ, who do you think is least productive?
I think I've already said the guy I thought was least productive was Umar Akmal, but I'm not going to go with that. Because he's obviously been banned for 3 years. Indian cricketer. Everybody's been on Instagram quite a lot. So they've been quite productive growing their following.
Varun's answer was the best because he didn't really truly upset or alienate anybody. Whatever you say now is going to be upsetting to at least one cricketer, right? So.
DJ, you can't be so long now. You have to pass.
Okay, I pass. Like you. I'm also.
No, he said Mukul. He said Chahal. It was a great answer. Mukul, what about yourself?
I'd say, one is I would think Rohit Sharma. I have 2 answers. One is Rohit Sharma. I'm sure he's not doing any working out at all. I don't know if there are any videos of him, but but I don't know whether Rohit Sharma needs to. Like he probably doesn't need it. The guy I'm curious about is Hardik Pandya. What is he doing, right? Like he's not getting action, and I'm sure that's really bothering him in this lockdown. So
but he's engaged now. He should not be getting extra action, extra shots.
I wouldn't put it past him. So if Hardik Pandya is using the lockdown to kind of, break the curfew in the middle of the night and figure what he can do, I don't think much cricket is happening there.
No, I'm going with Umesh. Cyrus told us that Umesh doesn't know the lockdown is on. So he's still doing nets.
See, this is like Ashish Nehra, because he would actually be the guy who took that spot, right?
Because Ashish Nehra also has a Nokia phone. Smartphone nahi hai.
Awesome. Mukul, thanks for that chat. We're going to come back in just a couple of seconds. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk to you a little bit more about The Office and how it relates to cricket. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Hey everybody, welcome to another week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money. Do definitely check out our social media accounts. We've been doing some really cool stuff over there. There are a bunch of recommendations from hosts. I think you'll really enjoy the content that we're putting out there. And make sure you don't miss your favorite shows. Cyrus Says has been putting out some great stuff, as is the Pragati podcast, all about policy, has been doing some really, really fun stuff. The guys at Football Shitball and Football Twaddle are continuing to release episodes as well, which are really interesting. Besa Vs Anupam's been having guest after guest, just killing it. Pulia Bazi's been doing so well. Postcards from Nowhere. All these shows are really, really doing well and really, really putting out great stuff. Appreciate the efforts that the hosts are putting in the lockdown, and I hope you guys are enjoying this stuff. And with that, let's continue with the show.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. We have Mukul Chaddha, star of The Office Indian version on Hotstar, and obviously cricket fan extraordinaire as well. So Mukul, we've talked a little bit about The Office on this show. All 3 of us and many of our listeners are fans of The Office. So I want to ask you 2 questions. First off, obviously you've had one very, very, very famous former Indian cricketer on the show. So I'll let you reveal that. But then I want to ask, which of the current 11 do you think has spent the most time in this lockdown watching and rewatching and re-rewatching The Office the way many of us have?
Which member of the team? You think it's Chahal? I'm just stealing from. Just to improve his short videos, trying to see how things work and how to get timing perfectly. I don't know. Kohli is clearly not watching. Right? Kohli is clearly just working out and he's got his whole. He's in Alibag somewhere. Apparently, he's got this big mansion. He's got this whole thing set up. He's probably playing cricket regularly. He'll probably be most fit when this ends. In fact, I'm very curious in general. I'm digressing slightly from the question. How many sportsmen may have to retire at the end of this lockdown across sports, right? Because it's hard to keep fit, and the older generation is going to find it hard to Federer might hold on to his record because of the lockdown.
Yeah.
It's things like that will happen.
DJ, let me ask you, I can think of one cricketer who might retire because of the lockdown. Can you?
Think of one guy who can retire.
I didn't bring the D name up.
Yeah, man, that photo, the Ziva Dhoni Instagram photo that did the rounds. I have to also say it's a pretty bad angle, and his hands are he's got his hands out like that, and he's wearing this fata t-shirt with some baggy pants. That's not the MS Dhoni that we remember, right?
Okay, so blaming the lighting and the angle, are we?
Yes. Pretty much. But it's lockdown, man. That's the lockdown look. So you see him back looking sharp with his hair all cut and beard shaven and stuff. But
it's got to be hard, right? He has to work so much harder at that age, and then it's just tough in a lockdown. You don't get practice. It's got to be tough on players, and it's indefinite. You don't know whether this is going to go on for several months. So even motivating yourself to keep going is kind of tricky.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so then I want to come to the last segment, which we've done a mini version of before, I said. But, we often wonder if, like I said, the character you play is the manager at Wilkins Chawla, which is the Dunder Mifflin equivalent. If the Indian cricket team, let's go with the Indian men's cricket team, and let's go with current, but I'll allow some former players or recent players as well. If they were your staff at the office, or if one of them was your character, which is the manager, who would be who? So, and I'm going to go around and ask kind of each of us as well, so you're not on the spot during the whole time. But let's start with your character. So the Jagdeep Chaddha character, right? A little bit of a maverick. I think you said when we were chatting before this is, what did you say? Fabulously flawed, or, something of that sort. Just a weird character, but such a good, kind-hearted guy, and actually he's really, really good at his job, right? So who's your parallel for the Indian men's cricket team?
In the Indian team, okay. It's like, and it's only current players? I mean...
let's go with, you're allowed some former players, but let's not go back to the 80s. Like, don't say...
No, we won't go back to the 80s. I mean, it's a strange one. There's no perfect parallel. I think there's a bit of Sehwagishness in it, right? Like, he's just in terms of... People love him at one level. He does some of the stupidest things that won't make you want to tear your hair out. But then you can't you can't drop him. I mean, you can't discipline him. You can't drop him. He's just so good at one thing, and which is hitting the ball in Sehwag's case. And maybe a Sehwagish kind of guy. He's not really the best leader. I mean, but yeah, there's something lovable about him.
Yeah, Mukul, I think that's the best answer ever, because Sehwag once was, I think, man of the match in some series against Bangladesh. He said that, Bangladesh can't take 20 wickets. And Bangladesh actually took 19 wickets and Sehwag declared. And so that is something totally that your character would have
so Jagdeep, man.
And
sure.
I think he winked at the presentation ceremony. So I can't think of anyone better than that.
DJ, do you disagree with the Sehwag assessment for Michael Scott, Jagdeep Chaddha?
It's a good shout, actually, but I'm going to go with somebody who's not part of the team but is around the team. I'm going to go with Ravi Shastri, man. I think you do great, Jagdeep Chaddha. So you have to remember, Michael Scott was a great salesman, and so is Jagdeep Chaddha. He's number one salesman, right? And Ravi Shastri has once hit 6 sixes in an over. He's won the Audi. He's champion of champions. He's captained India in Test cricket. He scored
one test. One over.
More than us.
Which we won. We won. He won
more than us. Yeah. So, I mean, still, he was a good cricketer in his time. You have to remember that. And then, now he's this caricature of himself. He became a caricature of a commentator with all these cliches. Just what the doctor ordered. It's gone to the boundary like a tracer bullet. It's all happening here, edged and taken, right? And now he goes on to TV after India wins a test match and says, "Thodi der ke liye gote muh mein tha." I mean, it is so much what Michael Scott or David Brent or Jagdeep Chaddha would do, right? And so I think it may not. The obvious answer is obviously Virat Kohli. I don't think Virat Kohli is a Jagdeep Chaddha. He's far too serious for that. So I think Ravi Shastri, and it's not actually within the parameters of your question, but I was thinking about this as Mukul was speaking about Virender, and Sehwag is a good shout, of course.
Yeah, fair enough. And let's be clear, the parameters of my question were sort of made up as I was going, so I'm not very attached to them. But let's keep going down the list. The second kind of assistant to the branch manager is TP Mishra, who's the Dwight Schrute inspired character. Mukul, let me start with you again.
Well, I'm going to, now that we've got Sehwag as Jagdeep, I would go with TP. I say, what about Gautam Gambhir? Like, he's so serious, I mean, and he's super serious. I mean, it's very easy to wind him up. He's very good at what he does. I mean, I think I really, enjoyed watching Gambhir save us so many matches and, really intense. But, it's almost like he's the kind of guy who's like Qaeda. You cannot break the rule. If he elbowed me, I will elbow him. I mean, it's like, he's just like too, and there's some Australian who's just winding him up constantly, right? I mean, he just like loses his shit. And I guess he wants to be captain. He never became captain. I mean, it was like, loyal to a flaw in that sense, but like couldn't make it.
I think there's a great link there too. Obviously, the political side of it as well.
Absolutely. Oh my God, I didn't think of that. You're absolutely right. Oh my God, completely.
So Gambhir is now actively involved in politics, as Dwight or TP would love to be someday. DJ, let me ask you, do you agree with that assessment? Or in your Ravi Shastri as branch manager world, is there somebody else?
And then, Ravi Shastri branch manager, Gautam Gambhir as Dwight Schrute is just Mr. Mishra, you're just like, dude, this is such a great shot. Because I can just see Gambhir getting so pissed. I can see Shastri and Gambhir in an office across the table just talking to each other. Oh my God. And Gambhir standing and like Shastri sitting, and what a conversation that would be. I wonder what the beats Bears and Battlestar Galactica for Gambhir would be though.
Yeah, that may be a conversation for a longer episode. Varun, let me ask you, any agreement, disagreement with Gambhir as that choice?
No, I think it's great. I love the Viru and Gambhir as manager and assistant to the regional manager. I think it's just fantastic. And awesome. I'm sure we can bring Afridi in for one episode. Some guest
Afridi is
Todd Packer. Yes! Todd Packer.
Oh, man. Okay, let's keep going down the list then. Jim Halpert is next, played by, or is Amit in the Indian office. Mukul, let's start with you again.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Jim in the current team, I'm maybe breaking your parameters, but Jim is like any New Zealand cricketer, like Kane Williams. I mean, any cricketer, any Kiwi, right? If we made them into teams, I would pick New Zealand because he's lovable. Everybody loves him, and he doesn't win though. He's never number one because he probably doesn't want to be number one. He's always like there. He's like, I mean, I would pick. So like, if I took an Indian player, let me think it through. But I'd go with like any Kiwi, all Kiwis.
That's a fair answer. Varun, where's your head on Jim?
I think somebody like Shikhar Dhawan. He's a pranking sort of a guy. He's a nice guy. Like Mukul said, he's not number one ever, but he's reliable. You can count on him. I would say Shikhar Dhawan.
DJ, what about yourself?
I don't know why, but I want to say Rishabh Pant. Because I can totally see Rishabh Pant pranking Gautam Gambhir and Gambhir getting so irritated about it. Because Gambhir's kind of like a nice, lovable character as well, right? He may not be the best at what he... Pant is a nice, lovable character. He may not be the best at what he does, but he's good enough. And sometimes you get the feeling he doesn't really quite want to be where he is.
To me, Pant is that intern. I don't know what's...
Ryan.
Yeah,
Ryan the temp.
Yeah,
or Sapan Gill, yeah.
Yeah, to me, Rishabh Pant is like a guy that you could see Viru going after and like loving him and stuff.
I'm actually seeing. I'm just seeing that scene between Gambhir and Rishabh Pant. When Gambhir is like, "Hum tumhare senior hai." Yeah. when DJ said it, I just saw that scene.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Okay, good answers. Let's go with that, and then let's ask the corresponding question, DJ, to you first. Then, who becomes Pam or Pummy? If you have Dhawan.
To Rishabh Pant. No, I've got Pant, no?
Oh, I thought you said... Yeah, okay. Go with
Pant. I've got Pant. Who becomes Pant's Pam? Oh, this is hard, man. Like, who does he have Ishan Kishan.
Ishan Kishan.
They've got a bromance, na? Full on. It's like a full-on bromance going on Instagram. So I'd say Ishan Kishan.
Does that make Angela Ishan Sharma then? Because Gambhir and Ishant had something as well. But,
no, what did they have, Varun? Tell us more.
I'll send Mukul the link later.
We'll put it in our show notes also. It's on the internet.
It's public. It's out there. Mukul, who's Pam, Pummy or Pam?
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Especially since I'm not privy to half this gossip that you guys seem to know so well.
This is all we do, man. This is all we do.
This is like, no, but this is exciting stuff. I'm waiting to see Varun's message when it comes through. Pam is a tough one. Meant for bigger things, likable, likes Rishabh Pant. Because I'm torn. Jadeja, does Jadeja become Pam or Jadeja becomes Sapan? I'm still unsure.
Jadeja is Sapan. He has to be the 12th man who can do anything.
Yeah, I thought of Jadeja as Sapan actually, but but I don't know whether he fits in. I'm sorry if I'm breaking your order, but I'm just sitting stuck with Pummy. I'll pass on Pummy. I mean, you guys have got better answers. I think your gossip level is like completely...
I'm not sure if we should be proud about that or disappointed, but we'll go for now. Okay, let's keep working down the list then. You have the Kevin Malone or Kutti character, who's kind of the little bit of a dweeb in the accounting office. People make fun of him a little. Obviously good enough to keep his job and knows what he's doing. So Mukul, let me come to you first. Do you have a guess? It sounds from DJ's face that he's got a good guess for this.
I know, I'm blanking. I'm just thinking of Ranatunga, Mars bar on half a length. I mean, that's the only thing that's coming to mind. That he's but that's not, I mean, that's how I think of him, right? He's just like chilling over there and eating all the time, which is hard to pick in the current Indian side. You can't. I mean, in back in the 80s, 90s, you had tons of them. Tons and tons of them.
2000s, we had Ramesh Pawar, correct?
Yeah, so, well, okay, to extend a little longer. But then after that, it's just, these guys are just lean machines. It's scary to watch.
DJ, let me come to you.
The guy who's doing just enough to keep his job, you've just seen me do the round arm action. Kevin is Kedar. Kedar Jadhav averages 40 with the bat, takes a few wickets with the ball. He's not quite got Kevin's build. I mean, he's pretty ripped. Huh? I know Varun follows him religiously on Instagram. So, Kedar is my Kevin.
But he places the ball. It's almost like he's, placing the ball on the pitch, right? It's not like he's throwing it all. He's just like placing it there.
Yeah. Also, Kevin was like, apparently in the US office, when they shot that scene with Kevin shooting those baskets, they only show 3 or 4 of them getting sunk. But apparently he hit like 15 in a row because he's an amazing basketball player.
Wow.
So this is on the Office Ladies podcast. So Mukul, that's going to be our next venture, doing an Indian version of the Office.
We've got, there's tons of little things we've got to get done. Except
so a podcast that you can do from home.
As you're doing right now. So actually, DJ, that's an interesting segue because in the Indian Office, the player who isn't selected in the Kabaddi episode is Sarla, which is the Phyllis character. So let me come to Varun first on that one. Who is Phyllis or Sarla in the Indian cricket team? Kind of that nurturing, slightly older presence, but can be feisty when he or she needs to be.
I'm just thinking of somebody older than they look, and I'm thinking of Amit Mishra. So the bowler. So,
great one.
So I think Amit Mishra would be Phyllis or Sarla, and always on the sidelines and just waiting to get in. So yeah.
Mukul, do you agree with that?
I think it's a great one. I mean, since he said that, I can think only the other person I can think of is Parthiv.
That's good.
Just around, right? I mean, he still looks like a baby, but he's like actually the other extreme is Amit Mishra. He looks young, but he's just you don't know why is he there? What is he doing? I mean, and he's probably the butt of
Why is he there? DJ, what about you? Let's ask with this one.
I was hoping you wouldn't come to me because you've given the leading thing about this person who's pretty old, isn't really contributing. So I'm going to go with MS Dhoni for Phyllis, man. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad, but now, I mean, everyone gets old, man.
It had to be you who said it.
It had to be me because the others would just get a mouthful back.
Yeah, if we said it, you would have got to agree.
But you were thinking of it. You led me into it, Ashwin. By
100%, man. Of course. Cheap. No, it was a good move. I'm very proud of it. So we could probably redo this exercise, by the way, again next month and again the following month and come up with completely different ones. And that's the beauty of the depth of the Indian team over the years as well. But I'm going to ask 2 more to wrap us up, okay? Varun mentioned Ishant before, but Angela or the Anjali character, also an accountant, a little bit uptight, I guess, a little bit, by the force. And then seems to have obviously has a side thing going on with TP Mishra or Dwight later in the Office. So Varun, let me ask you first, since you brought her up initially. Who's the Angela Anjali character?
I think Cheteshwar Pujara. He's so...
Oh, that's really good. I like that.
He's so disciplined. He's so by the book. He's like, this is not how it's supposed to be done. Don't play T20 cricket. Don't... I think Pujara would be my Angela.
That's good. Mukul?
Can I just second Varun? Because that's such a good answer. I mean, it's like... I can just imagine Pujara sitting in his room, practicing all day long. He's working the hardest in his lockdown.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's probably the least affected, right? He doesn't play IPL anyway. He's used to going long periods of time without playing, and he's going to be great.
Because वो हमारे संस्कार के खिलाफ है.
Exactly. There you go. That's your perfect parallel. DJ, last thought on Angela or Anjali?
I know, man. Manish Pandey, I feel, because he's kind of in the middle, I don't know. I somehow get the feeling that he's quite a strict guy. He's like a very dedicated, one-track mind kind of guy. And him and Dwight, just thinking of Gambhir and Manish.
Let's not go there, man.
Wow. Let's keep going.
You're just giving Mukul opportunities to say maybe yahi boli.
I'm not going to go there, but I think it's going to be a little odd when I meet these actors again, to think that's That's going to be great.
It'll be worse when you meet Rishabh Pant and you're like, oh God, you're Jim or you're Amit.
If there's one contribution we've added, Mukul, to your life, this will be it. When you're back on set filming with these guys, you're going to think of cricketers. But I have to ask one final one before I wrap up, which is everybody's least favorite, who is Madhukar in HR or the Toby Flenderson character. Who in the current Indian setup is that player? DJ, let me ask you first. I think when we first did this, said Rishabh Pant is Toby or Madhukar. And I don't know why, but it's fine. We'll come up with a new one.
MSK Prasad, the chief selector, ex-chief selector. Really boring guy. Really horrible press conferences.
It sounds
Nobody
like
wants
a
him
better answer. Varun, do you have a better answer than that?
I think Ravichandran Ashwin, after the Mankad incident, I think after the Mankad incident, everyone's just like, oh, we don't want him.
We love Ashwin. What are you saying?
No, it's not about us. It's about who would fit in that character. He's just been kind of boycotted, man. Ravichandran Ashwin in a match, in any IPL match, the current Indian team themselves don't want to talk to him. Shikhar Dhawan is making fun of him by jumping around the crease. Virat Kohli takes a catch of him. So I feel like Ravichandran Ashwin is the perfect Toby Flenderson.
What?
Mukul, let's close this segment out with you.
I was going to go with Kumble as coach, but Varun has got a good answer because that Mankad and that stuff. I mean, the way he did it more than anything else. I'm a fan of Mankading, by the way. Yeah. But the way it happened, I think it was strange. But yeah, so I would have. I'll let me stick with my answer, but I think Varun will win it. I'd go with Kumble when he was coach because nobody wanted him around. He was just stickler for the rules, creating a problem for all these guys. They're just not happy with him.
Awesome.
And Ryan and Mindy are KL and Hardik. We did this on the last one.
That we did last time, yeah. There's so many more. We can go to. We can ask who's Ria or Jan. There's too many different ways, but I'm going to close us off there because Mukul. So, hey, thank you for doing that exercise. Some point, someday, one of our listeners maybe will take a visual of the cast and start putting cricketers' faces and see how.
I dread that day. I mean, I dread that day when any member of the cast comes to me and says, "You thought I was like so and so." I thought come true.
It's going to be great. Hopefully they don't listen to the show then, right? But let's wrap up. I mentioned this earlier. You had one former cricketer who we're all huge fans of come on the show. So, of course, if you haven't seen it, we'll share this link out on social media as well. But Yuvraj Singh did a little cameo in a 5-minute sketch on The Office India as well. Tell us a little bit about that experience. I know you were telling us off air a little, but, what was it like, working with Yuvraj Singh as obviously you've got now great name and face recognition. You've done well, but as an actor and as a cricket fan, it must have been a pretty awesome moment when you realized you'd get to work with him, right?
Oh, I was fanboying like crazy. I mean, I think we were like, and TP was there as well. And, Gopal was a good friend of mine. We were like, trying to outdo each other in terms of how much, we're showing off our little cricket knowledge here and there to impress Yuvraj. We were complete fanboys. And he was extremely sweet. I mean, Yuvraj was like the nicest person to work with. I mean, extremely sweet, very accommodating. I mean, I thought he was very natural in what he did. I mean, he had a tough job. He got a lot of lines to do, but it was extremely sweet and extremely fun to work with, and no hang-ups whatsoever. So I mean, we could do silly things with him, which I think you wouldn't have taken liberties with other people, like took a secret selfie and put it up as if Yuvraj is taking my selfie because he's a fan of mine. And he was completely relaxed about all these things. I mean, he was just so easy to be with. I mean, it was just lovely.
That's fantastic. And then let me close us out by asking if there was one cricketer who you could have guest appear on the Office in season 3 whenever it comes out. Who would that one be?
My favorite cricketer of all time. I mean, this is actually Rahul Dravid. I don't know how he would be in this episode. Because that I think he wasn't great in one Bakra episode when one woman was like hitting on him and pulling his leg on that front. So I'm not sure he'd be great on that front. But who I think are actually the two greatest actors among cricketers who are just so natural in their ads is MS Dhoni and Kohli. I mean, this is probably politically incorrect to say, but Kohli is sometimes better than Anushka in the ads they do together. I mean, he is so good. I don't understand how that happens. And Dhoni is also very natural. So I think they would be great fun if they came on the show.
Let's hope somebody connected to them hears this and here's the appeal. It would be fantastic to have them as guest appearances. Mukul, that brings us to a wrap of this episode of Edges and Sledges. Thank you so much for the time. Phenomenal chatting with you. Obviously as a renowned actor, you're still a cricket fan at heart, just like us, and you've been following them around. We all still do have tickets to the T20 World Cup down in Australia this fall.
Oh, wow.
Fingers crossed as to whether it happens or not, but if it does, and you may be there as well, we'd love to catch up in person. But thank you again for being on the show.
Well, thanks so much for calling me. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta. I'm B50 on Twitter. I am the host of Paisa Vaisa, the show that talks money. On my show, I speak to experts from every field of money and finance. From stock markets, equities, debt funds, credit cards, life insurance, every possible area of money and finance that you can think of. We even did an episode on cryptocurrency. I've got fantastic guests from mutual funds to personal finance experts everywhere. Robo-advisory, startups, just name it, we've got it. At Paisa Vaisa, we help you make smart decisions about money. You work hard for money. Now make your money work hard for you. New episodes out every Monday, and you can listen to my show on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you have.
रिश्ते में तो हम तुम्हारे पॉडकास्ट लगते हैं. नाम है फुटबॉल शुटबॉल.
Presenting Football Shortball, a show about three friends discussing our favorite game over a beer. Sometimes 3, maybe even 5. Hi, I'm Shiva, and with me are my two sidekicks, Gaurav Sapre and Karthik Iyer.
Sidekick? You mean like Batman's Robin or Van Persie Robin?
No, I mean like Alexis Sanchez, but with a little more skill than just playing the piano.
Ha! Just shows how the best players at Arsenal are mere bench warmers at United.
Oh, thank you, Iyer. But you're a Fulham supporter, so whenever you say anything to support me, I question my beliefs.
Just like how Griezmann would say, एक बार मैंने जो decision ले लिया, तो मैं अपने आप की भी नहीं सुनता.
Banter aside, we will talk match reports, transfer rumors, top controversies, fantasy football picks, and so much more. So grab a beer and tune in to Football Shortball every Wednesday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.